Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are taking a deep dive into the evolution of classic tech gadgets to figure out if these follow-up devices are actually still worth the hype. When a genuinely beloved piece of technology gets an update, is it always a step forward? Or does the magic sometimes just get lost in translation?
So let's tackle this question head on by looking at a core dilemma for tech companies. Should they play it safe with some minor tweaks, or should they just completely rewrite the rulebook? Building a tech sequel is an incredibly tricky balancing act, and today we're going to see exactly how different brands handle that intense pressure. To figure this out, we'll be evaluating four distinct tech categories today to really understand the different paths a product sequel can take. We'll look at 1. The ultimate productivity mouse, 2. Alien audio getting louder, 3. Keeping tablet rivalries alive, and 4. The camera industry plot twist.
Let's start with Section 1, the ultimate productivity mouse.
We're kicking things off with the absolute master of calculated iteration, the Logitech MX Master 4. This is a gadget that has a massive, fiercely loyal following. And what's brilliant here is how Logitech used massive amounts of user data to make these hyper-specific improvements without ruining the iconic silhouette that people already love. They swapped out the old rubber for a durable, micro-textured recycled plastic. They nudged the horizontal scroll wheel just a bit higher, which is a total dream for video editors. They silenced the clicks for quiet studio environments. And in their boldest move, they added a totally hidden, customizable haptic motor right by their thumb. Now, if you jump into the Logitech Options Plus app, you can customize this brand new haptic feedback to act as a quick launch shortcut ring. When you press that thumb gesture area, a little menu pops up on your screen. It's literally like the little Grand Theft Auto weapons select wheel, but for your computer mouse. No joke, you can use it to instantly launch your favorite apps, snap to different desktops, or execute custom macros. It's just an absolute playground for productivity enthusiasts. Now, at $120, it only has a 120 Hz polling rate and a standard USB Type-C dongle. And look, in a world where gaming mice are boasting polling rates in the thousands, those numbers might not sound all that crazy on paper. But honestly, that's not the point of this device. It is a rock-solid, incredibly reliable daily driver that completely justifies its price tag, simply because it works perfectly for the modern professional. This mouse brilliantly illustrates our first type of sequel, refining a product to the absolute nth degree without breaking what already works. It has absolutely earned the title of the Porsche 911 of computer mice. They don't mess with the recognizable shape. They just iterate, tweak, and perfect the formula year after year. Moving right along to Section 2, Alien audio gets louder. Okay, so if the mouse was all about subtle refinement, the DeViolet Phantom Ultimate is about raw, unfiltered power scaling. The core concept hasn't changed one bit here. It's simply about pushing the physical limits of volume and bass. Just look at the massive leap from the standard 98 decibel version to this new 108 decibel Titan. The upgraded internal circuitry makes this thing capable of truly ear-shattering sound. But as you can imagine, creating that much sound requires some seriously heavy-duty hardware. Each of these dense, all-in-one speaker systems weighs almost 25 pounds. You need heavy-duty stands and massive space to actually deliver that 108 decibel output. But when you pair two of these heavyweights together in stereo mode, the room-filling bass and audio separation are just spectacular. Visually, well, while they've got all that new circuitry inside, they definitely retain that wild aesthetic. It kind of looks like an alien head, complete with a very dramatic moving membrane on the sides that physically pulses to the music. And fun fact, while these are designed as expensive conversation starters for your home, you might actually spot older versions of these alien heads tucked into the corners of tiny kiosks at the Newark airport. I'm serious, once you notice them, you will literally never unsee them. All right, let's jump into Section 3, Keeping Tablet Rivalries Alive. Our third segment explores a tech sequel driven by fierce, head-to-head competitive refinement, the Samsung Galaxy Tab S11 Ultra. And the absolutely crucial point here is its ridiculous physical footprint. At just 5.1 millimeters, it is actually thinner than an iPad Pro and an iPad Air. When you actually hold it, it's so impossibly thin that it feels almost like a razor-thin movie prop in your hands, rather than a real functional piece of consumer technology.
Yet somehow, inside that wafer-thin frame, they have crammed a massive 14.6-inch 3K AMOLED display with pitch blacks and powered it with a huge 11,600 milliamp hour battery. You're getting up to 16 gigs of RAM, a terabyte of built-in storage, and micro SD card support. For a $1,200 package, which by the way actually includes the S Pen, this thing completely matches the heavyweights of the tablet market. But here's the thing, Samsung isn't just relying on shiny hardware. They've loaded this tablet with software features specifically designed to pull power users straight out of the iPad ecosystem. You can have your apps automatically load in windowed form, you can resize those windows to literally any shape or size, use incredibly intuitive snap-to-edge management just like you would on a desktop computer, save custom desktop layouts, and seamlessly link directly to your phone for calls and texts. They are fighting back hard with some serious, heavy-hitting productivity software.
Finally, that brings us to Section 4, the camera industry plot twist. So our final sequel wasn't born from careful iteration, but from a massive industry-shaking merger. Let's look at the timeline because it's wild. 9 years ago, high-end 8K RED cameras were the absolute pinnacle of expensive cinema tech. Around CES 2016, Nikon released the D500. For years, Nikon really struggled, sitting in a distant third place behind Sony and Canon in the mirrorless space, while RED just continued making incredible but wildly expensive cinema cameras. But then came the plot twist. Nikon officially buys RED, and present day, the $2,200 Nikon ZR is released. The result of this crazy union is the Nikon ZR, and it is an absolute powerhouse. It marries a 24-megapixel stacked sensor and a robust 7.5 stops of stabilization with incredible cinema capabilities, like 6K 60 video and 15 stops of dynamic range. But most critically, it shoots R3D NI, which is RED's famous compressed RAW format. It effectively crams legendary Hollywood video quality right into a highly adaptable, full-frame mirrorless body.
But the real disruption here is the price tag. Just look at the comparison. The highly popular Sony FX3 will run you about $4,000. Meanwhile, the brand new Nikon ZR drops in at just $2,200. It immediately becomes the smallest, most affordable RED camera ever made, handing creators an elite tool for nearly half the cost of its main rival. It's a total game changer.
Okay, so it's not totally flawless. It does carry a few physical quirks that reveal its hybrid DNA. The ergonomics for dedicated video shooters are a bit weak, featuring a pretty small side grip. There's no electronic viewfinder, there's no top handle included out of the box. It opts for a fragile micro HDMI port instead of a full-size one, and it's got a very unusual dual slot setup, one CF Express Type B and one micro SD. But honestly, considering the underlying specs and that incredible price point, it is still a massive, massive win. As we've seen with the incredibly rare consumer victory of the Nikon and RED merger, sometimes the best tech sequels happen when the entire script just gets flipped. Whether it's perfecting the shape of a mouse, pushing the absolute decibel limits of a speaker, cramming laptop specs into a razor-thin tablet, or shaking up the entire camera industry with a merger, sequels push the boundaries of what our tools can actually do. It really makes you wonder, what two tech giants should combine forces